Okay, good evening, all of you. Today we are going to start the revision class for those who are doing O-levels this year. And first of all, I would like to say this will be more than a revision class. It will probably be a paper discussion, a question discussion class, right? So I will be revising the lessons as well. And at the same time, I will be revising the lessons as well as I will be discussing some questions, basically focusing your attention on the uh, marking schemes, right? So today, first of all, I'm going to tell you what we are going to do today, right? So I gave you an idea. This will be more than a revision class. It will be a kind of a question discussion, paper discussion class as well, while revising certain lessons. Well, okay. So this is today's plan actually, right? So what we are going to do today, every day we are going to do something like this in this class, and even you can request several things if you like have some doubts and if you have some difficult lessons, so we can discuss those questions with you. Like we can discuss the questions related to those particular lessons and all the things. Okay. So for today, we are going to discuss first of all, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to analyze you the criteria, marking criteria for essay type questions. Now, basically, you know you're getting 15 marks for each essay type question. This is essay type questions, right? Not context questions. So you know that you're getting marks for 15 marks for essay type questions. So I will be discussing with you. I'm taking few pages from the marking scheme and I'm going to tell you how those marks are divided. So then when you have the understanding of that, you can write your answers in order to score marks. That is what you should do now. So that will be that will be easy for you once you know the marking criteria. Well, and next, after discussing that, I'm going to discuss a model essay type question with you from poetry. From poetry section means one poem, right? And we'll be discussing the context questions. Now, you know, in your paper, you're getting 6 context questions, except the context question from the novel, you're getting 6 context questions. So I will be discussing those 6 context questions of 2022 paper, right? And I will show you the marking scheme, the answers included in the marking scheme, and how the marks will be given. And the last thing for the day is we are going to discuss a model essay type question from the novel, and the novel is The Vendrock's Wings. Okay, well, so let's move without taking much time. Let's move to the first part. So this is what I have taken from the marking scheme actually, and I want to show you how you're getting marks. So now it says part 2 of the question paper, essay type question, right? So let's see what is tested in like there's a question for you to answer, and that is an essay type question. And do you know that the examiner set these papers in order to test your skills? And I'm here going to tell you what skills that they need to see from you. And they will see to what extent you are skillful in the particular section, right? So sometimes this may be somewhat unclear for you, but however, I'll explain you. The section attempts to test the following skills. So that is important, right? The following skills. First of all, they test your identification. That means your knowledge. So in essay type questions, you don't have a text there or an extract there to identify. So this means whether you have identified the question and whether you have identified the particular lesson. Now just think that you are answering one of the essay type questions from the poetry part. So uh, the I know that the name of the poem is given in the question itself, so there's no need to identify from which poem that you need to answer. That is not what you call what we call identification here, right? You have to identify the question and the particular part of that poem that you are going to not the particular part of that poem, like not from the first part and the middle part. That I'm telling overall there is a part that you have to take into your question. Now for example, if I tell like this, you're having a question from the poem The Eagle, right? The Eagle, and that is about let's say it's about nature, right? The question is about nature. Let's say the poem The Eagle explores nature. So there you have to select the particular part from the poem that is relevant to answer this question, nature. Now, if the question is like the power of the eagle, the masculinity of the eagle or something like that, there's a particular part there. But with the nature, you have to always go with the particular ideas there. Now, for example, from nature, you can take eagle is a symbol of nature, right? And then you can say there are a lot of natural elements used in this poem. There you don't talk much about the masculine power of the eagle or something like that. You don't talk about that, but you can talk about that to a certain extent. But probably you have to have a good idea, a good identification about what you are going to select from the particular lesson. Okay, and comprehension. This is really important. You should be able to comprehend the question. And if you have comprehended the question well, you will be able to show whether you have comprehended the particular lesson as well. An application. So if you have comprehended the particular lesson, the particular poem, you can apply that in the question. Okay? And analysis. That is what you always bother about. So you have to analyze what you have applied there. And synthesis. So synthesis means there should be a meaning or there should be a connection to what you are writing there, right? You can't just grab something from somewhere and write it there. There should be a meaning, there should be a flow in the writing, in what you are writing in your essay type questions. Okay? And finally, whether you have evaluated this in a broader way. Okay? Right. So here it says focus is more on the last four as attention had been paid to the other three in question 1. Right? Question 1 means what you have done in context questions. So mostly in context questions, they examine whether you have identified, comprehended and applied the knowledge. So the last three is more considered, not it doesn't mean that the first three is not considered, but The last three, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation parts, are more considered when marking essay type questions. Okay, so here it says candidates should be able to demonstrate that they are or they are able to analyze and address the question. So remember these facts very carefully. Take them into your mind, right? You don't need to write these things anywhere, but you have to get this idea into your mind. Otherwise, whatever you write and whatever knowledge you have, if you don't know how to put it in the put it as the answer for the essay type question, you won't get marks. So that is really important. So you should be able to analyze and address the question. That is why I was always telling in the classes that you should always address the question in the beginning of the paragraph at the end of the paragraph in different ways. Okay, and B, it says selected relevant content and organized an answer relevant to the question. There should be an organization for this answer. Okay, and familiar with the text and quote relevancy and at appropriate moments to build up an argument. So there should be arguments. Like when some questions ask, do you agree? You should build up a certain argument and tell whether you agree with it or not. Because of these things, I agree, right? And if it says to comment on it, there also you can comment building up arguments. You have to critically look into this. Okay? Alright, then comprehended and appreciated the text and so can write with understanding and confidence. Comprehended. So if you don't understand the text that you have selected, now if you select the question from the poem The Eagle, you should have a thorough understanding about that poem. Otherwise, you cannot appreciate that poem, right? And you are even not confident to do that. Well, and the next point says able to write with correct grammar and spelling. So that is obvious and exact for literature students. You can't make grammar and spelling mistakes because those who are doing literature, English literature, is usually thorough with English language, right? So they should not have any of these spelling and grammar mistakes with them, right? So if you have them, still you have the chance to avoid them by writing and correcting your spelling and grammar mistakes. Okay, right. And related to experience that gain to the world around them. That is really important. So literature is not about just reading something and getting it like comprehending it, but you have to apply that knowledge to the society. And I must say that this syllabus is actually made for you to be a fit for the society. So most of the literary text used in this syllabus are based on the everyday situations, or like not everyday situations, it can be applied to your everyday life. You can get advisors to your own life. You can build up your personality by relating to the uh, issues discussed in this poem and short stories or whatever the text, right? So you have to always apply that. Now, if you talk about eagle and nature, you can apply something for the real life situations now. You can just talk about the now there is a dual aspect of nature, no? Dual aspect of nature. Nature is always helping us, right? Nature gives us breath, the oxygen, food, everything, shade and everything, right? But at the same time, we can see certain natural disasters, right? So thereby you can mention some of the natural disasters like floods, tsunami, right? So that applies for the society and that hinders us. That is a very simple example, but more than nature, there are a lot of other themes where you can apply them to the society. Right. Then, related the experience to the world around you and looked critically at the text and the experience gained by it. Looked critically to the text and the experience gained around it. I just remembered one of the poems, Farewell to Barn and Stack Country. Just think about that. The main theme of that poem is consequences of sudden impulse. Okay, consequences of sudden impulse. So thereby you can see, because of uncontrollable emotion, uh, the narrator has killed his own brother. So now he's suffering from and repenting from the consequences. So that is a very good example for you to you to build up your own mindset. That means you should have always controlled feelings with you. You should be able to cope up with the conflicts in your real life situations, right? So you can get those things, right? Okay. So these things are tested when you are writing essay type answer. Okay? Right. So here you can see, I think you can see here, you're getting marks here for content, organizing, and language. Right? Content, organizing, and language. And this sometimes changes. Now this is, I think, I have took this from 2021. It is, as I remember, it's 2021 marking scheme, right? In some years, it changes, like mechanics of writing is also coming here. And however, here now generally you can take this criteria. Okay, so now see under content what you are tested. Under content, now these three are explained, right? I'm going to explain these 3 points: content, organizing, and language. So under content, the examiners check whether there are facts from the text. You can't write, like you can apply real life situations into this, but there should be something from the content as well, what you have studied. And you have to say like, this is in the poem and we can find this in the society too. That's how you have to answer. Well, and prioritizing the facts, that is important. So you are getting 7 marks for the content, no? So they check whether you have added relevant points from the poem to your answer and whether you have given priority to them. Now, if it is about nature and eagle, the poem Eagle, the first thing that you should get into your mind is eagle is a symbol of nature, because eagle is the title of the poem. There are several other things that you can tell about nature, but priority should be given to the most important point. That is it, right? And presenting content in favor of question, not in favor of your own choices, but in favor of question. That's why I have told you. Now, if the question is about the nature, how it explores nature, first thing you have to come, the first thing that comes to your mind is eagle symbolizes nature. But instead of that, if you say like it's the masculinity of the eagle is shown in this poem, is it relevant? No. Yes, that is not it is shown in this poem, but it is, although you like to write about it, the question doesn't say that. Okay? Right. And then critical evaluation of the facts. So you have to critically tell these things, just not it shows like this, and it doesn't it doesn't enough, right? It is not enough, right? So it doesn't mean any sense. You have to critically evaluate. In this poem, it says like this, and it shows it suggests this, right? That is how you have to critically evaluate. And your personal views respond stimulated by content. That is it. After telling the content, after analyzing the content, you can also give some of your opinions regarding the particular fact. That should be there, right? And the last part is students' creativity. All these things are tested under content. So you have to fill up your mind with all these things. So you are getting 7 marks if you have completed all these factors under content, right? So let's move to the next one, organizing part. Now here banding it says if you have done all the aspects, you will get 6 to 7 marks, and if it is in the middle way, you will get 3 to 5, and it's not like it's the if the facts are not relevant, 1 to 2 marks like that, right? So I'm not explaining those things. Let's go to organizing part. So for the organizing part, answer should be relevant. Again, it says address the question. And answer has cohesion. Cohesion means there should be a connection, close connection between the various parts of the answer. Close connection between the various parts of the answer. And support with relevant quotes at the appropriate point. At the appropriate point, you have to take appropriate quotes. Okay, right. And then well ordered, right? Well ordered, divided into paragraphs with an appropriate introduction and conclusion. So that is why I'm always telling there should be an introduction, there should be a conclusion, and conclusion is not just one line. I'm always telling these things, right? So develops an argument. So that is important. Like this is not just writing something, but you have to critically evaluate and write. So under organization part, you are given 4 marks and tested all these things. Okay, right. And next, the last part is language. So language, I told you, as literature students, you should have perfect language with you. You should have a rich vocabulary. You should not do grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes. Like they may happen, but you have to lessen them as far as you can, right? And correct structures of grammar should be written there. Rich vocabulary and expression, and communicative power in the language and style. Communicative power. So there should be a certain way that you have expressed your ideas, facts, and that shows the richness of your language. All right. So I think you got an idea. So whenever you are writing an essay type question hereafter, some of you may have known these facts earlier as well, but I think it will although you know these facts, it stands as a revision for you. So again, hereafter when you are writing essay type answers, focus your attention on all these things. So while you are writing, just remind yourself, revise your memory that whether I have added relevant facts, whether I have added appropriate quotations, whether I have checked my grammar and spelling again. Okay, so that is really important for you to know how you are getting marks for this. Well, so I told you the plan of the day today. So the first part is over now. I told you that we are going to discuss the marking criteria of essay type questions. Now that is done. So we are going to go for the next part for the day. That is the discussion of a model essay type question in poetry. Well, I will show you the question. This is the question I have selected today. A book cannot be judged by its cover. Do you agree? Discuss with reference to the poem Richard Cory. Now there's a statement given and the question asked whether you agree with it or not as well. Okay? Right. So before that, I want you to remind this poem. I'm not going to show you or discuss the stanzas of the poem. So revise the poem with your memory, right? Revise the poem and tell me anything appropriate that you can put here. Right? Now just think the question is here. Okay? The question is here. Okay? The question is here and let me put the question again here. Think of anything in this poem that is relevant for this question. Anything. Okay, here is the question. Think of anything that is relevant for this question from the poem, right? Not anything else. We are not going to talk about the these things that are appropriate for the society and all. Now think about anything which is suitable to answer this question from the poem, right? From the poem, you have to think about it. So go through the poem if you have the books closer by and remind, now you don't have books, I guess. You can remember the poem. So anything that you get into your mind once you remember the poem, Richard Cory, and this book cannot be judged by its cover. So basically, you should have understood that this mainly talks about the theme here, appearance versus reality. No, appearance versus reality. Because the cover is the appearance, what is inside the book is reality. So just think about Richard Cory's life, the poem Richard Cory, and tell me anything that is suitable for this. And I would say just think now and the meeting will be ended after 2 minutes live, right? And you have to join again and tell me your answers to the chat, right? Post your answers to the chat. Now think, right? After these 2 minutes, you have to add your answers to the chat. Okay, right. The first thing you have to do. The points, anything, any word even, okay, right? Think about the poem. We'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, appearances are deceptive can be taken, obviously. Let's write that. Appearances are deceptive. Okay, right? Others also just think about something. So once the meeting ended, you have to join with the same link, right? I wish whether you can tell me something from the poem itself. I don't want sentences, right? I just want some words. This is just like brainstorming. Okay, Richard Cory is a clean flavored gentleman. Yes. Richard Cory is a clean flavored. Okay, clean flavored gentleman. Okay, clean flavored gentleman.